The SaaS industry is a mess. No one's hitting target. SDRs and AEs are getting laid off by the dozens, struggling to get jobs, no feedback, no end in sight. And worst of all, none of you really know why. Welcome to episode 1 of the SaaS Sales Misfit podcast, the weekly pod that cuts through all the noise to bring you up to speed with everything that's going on in the world of SaaS and what it means for you, delivered, of course, in the usual no BS, no nonsense style from yours truly, the SaaS Sales Misfit. We'll be covering key topics from the weekly news roundup. Plus, I will be breaking down some of the biggest blockers that you SDRs and AEs are facing today. This is all based on live research. Guys, you do not want to miss that. So, guys, let's kick it off with the key topics of this week. Number 1, and the one we're going to be focusing on the most today, enterprise deals are still stalling. We're going to talk about why this is happening and what you as SDRs and AEs need to do to level up and combat this. This is our main focus for this week, so stay tuned because you do not want to miss it, especially if you're an SDR or an AE. Now, in other news, Attio have just confirmed this week that they have raised $52 million in Series B funding. Now, Attio are an AI native CRM platform, and they're not the only one out there. This is not going away. But the question is, are they a genuine threat to legacy platforms like Salesforce? There's other examples like Atlas. Jordan Schlossberg, founder of ProSapient, has been working on Atlas for the last 18 months to 2 years. That platform has AI at its core. So this is big news because Attio raising this kind of money, platforms like Atlas already out there, is the world shifting now towards an AI native platform? And look, guys, Salesforce haven't turned a blind eye to AI. They've got their own AI feature, right? They've got their own feature product called Einstein, I believe. And they've been building out AI capabilities for a number of years, or at least looking at it. But here's the thing with Einstein. Yes, it has AI capabilities, but is acting as a layer. So the AI bit, Einstein, is not the foundational part of the platform, unlike Attio, Atlas, and countless others, I'm sure. So it still requires that manual inputting. Now, we will talk in future podcasts more about what AI is doing in the SaaS space and how it's disrupting the SaaS industry and what that means for you. But in this particular bit of news, super interesting. They've managed to raise 52 million Series B. They seem to be going from strength to strength. So the question is, are we moving away to a more agile, customizable CRM built for the future? Or is it going to still mean that the behemoth that is Salesforce, the legacy platform, will still be the way that the world moves forward? This is going to be super interesting. And I guess the question is, which is the future? Time will tell. Let's watch this space. Now, the other big news that's taken place this week is Atomic, within the fintech space, have raised $30 million in funding. They are a New York-based platform for fintech and financial institutions. They've secured $30 million in growth capital. So what does this mean? This means that the world of SaaS is still growing. They predicted that around by the end of 2025 that the industry would be worth around $300 billion US. It continues to attract significant venture capital, and there are reports out there showing a year-on-year increase in funding. But what does that mean? It means that we're turning into an even more saturated market. So the fintech space is attracting investments and attracting funding, but so is the world of AI, platforms like Attio, platforms like Atlas, and a few others out there. So it is interesting times for the SaaS space. But again, what does that mean for you, the SDR, you, the AE? Because it's becoming more saturated, but deal cycles have slowed down. So there is going to be a new breed of SDR and AE that we're going to talk about as this podcast continues. And speaking of saturated markets, this week saw the launch of AI marketing. Pankaj Singh is the founder of AI marketing, and we're now seeing AI technology moving into the marketing space. We need to watch this space to see what is going to happen, because marketing teams will have to adopt to the world of AI. There's no two ways about it. This isn't just affecting sales, it's affecting marketing, it's affecting the whole of the SaaS space. And those marketers and marketing teams that adapt the quickest to the introduction of AI are the ones that are going to stand out the most. Let's watch this space. Finally, we will cover off LinkedIn posts of the week, the biggest blockers that SDRs and AEs are facing today, with a specific focus on objection handling. You definitely don't want to miss that. We will cover that off. But first, the big focus of today, enterprise deals are still struggling. Now, the global SaaS market, as we've just spoken about, is still growing. But what I'm telling you is that this growth is a smokescreen. It's not translating to easy wins for enterprise sales teams. In fact, it's creating a perfect storm of complexity, risk aversion, and buyer empowerment that is stalling and killing deals for reps. Now, there's some key differences and key changes that have happened only in the last 2-3 years, but now it's more poignant than ever. Gone are the days of having a single champion. If you do not multi-thread and if you do not have multiple champions, that deal is going nowhere, my friend. Sometimes you've got 10 to 15 stakeholders in a business, depending on the size of organization that you're working with. So if you're sitting there with one champion, I'm telling you right now, don't even commit that in your pipeline. It's not going anywhere. We need to be multi-threading and building multiple champions. Get IT involved, finance, legal. You're going to have to juggle more than you ever have done before because the market itself is super complex, which means you, as the SDRs and AEs, need to be a level above. 3 years ago, you would have been fine. Right now, whatever you were doing in the last couple of years is not going to cut the mustard. The other thing that's changed in the landscape, the buyer journey has started a lot earlier. Sometimes there's a ton of research done. Up to 70% of the work is already done before you even engage with your prospects. And what does all of that mean? It means you need to be a step ahead of the game. You need to take a more strategic approach, both at SDR level and at A level. The bull market days are gone. We're in a bear market now. No more easy deals, no more easy money. Every dollar that businesses are spending on software is actually taken from budget from elsewhere within the business. And so they've got an internal conversation happening. Are we going to invest in software or are we just going to keep what we've got? That's created an internal competition for funds. The finance departments in these places are scrutinizing every single penny, every single dollar spent. And to back this up, in 2022, 68% of reps were hitting quota. They were hitting their target. Fast forward to now, 2025 is set to be one of the worst years in SDR and AE history within the SaaS space. We're currently looking at 20% that are going to end up hitting target. That's 1 in 5 reps. There's data out there showing that cash flow is a real problem for prospects, for companies out there that you're targeting. And what that means is they're demanding shorter contracts. There's payment delays. They're asking for longer payment terms. As of right now, only 23% of SaaS contracts are multi-year at the point of sale. And companies are spending up to 85% of their budget on renewals and consolidating what they've got, as opposed to new purchases. Let's face it, companies no longer want to pay for features that they don't use. And the data shows that on average, businesses are using less than 50% of their SaaS licenses, 49%. So more than half the licenses they're purchasing are completely wasted. That's going to raise a red flag with the finance department. Do you think the finance departments don't know this? Within the businesses, they're going to see, actually, we're not even using this tool, or we're not using it. Up to half the organization or half the licenses are not even being used. What does that mean? They're going to try and cut it. Companies are now in protect and preserve mode. That is the lay of the land. That is the market that we're facing. And the reason being, there's loads of knock-on effects and there's loads of reasons why that is happening. We're going to talk about that more in the upcoming podcasts as to why the market is what it is. But what that means for you right now, SDRs and AEs, is that you're actually battling less with competitors and actually more with the CFOs in the businesses that you're targeting. They're your competition now. And guess what the CFO is doing? They're sitting there armed with spreadsheets and numbers and a business mandate to cut costs. And what are they going to cut first? Well, how about the SaaS tool that they're no longer using properly? If they're looking to cut costs, they're not looking for new solutions. So what are you going to do about this? That is exactly what we're going to cover. But first, I want to share a LinkedIn story with you guys this week. Let me bring it up. Here's a post about the worst sales advice someone received from a sales trainer. Now, they're setting the scene, right? They're in objection handling training, and the trainer asked the group to throw out objections. The trainer was basically going to handle objections thrown at him on the spot. So the lady goes in with the classic, not interested, and he responds with, how do you know you're not interested when you don't even know what I'm selling yet? Now, guys, there are many variations of this, and I still hear this or a variation of this today. Do not go in using this kind of approach to the objection, I'm not interested. What is this going to do? Imagine if you're the person on the end of a call and you say you're not interested and someone responds with, how do you know you're not interested when you don't even know what I'm selling yet? What are you going to do? You're either going to swear at them and hang up, or you're just going to hang up. You can't be combative in this day and age with objections. Objections aren't there to be battered away, right? As she points out, they should actually be understood and dealt with. So I want to know how you SDRs and A's are dealing with the classic objection, not interested. This is my personal take on how I deal with it, and feel free to use it if you think it's useful. Not interested. Totally get it. Of course you're not interested. If you were interested, you would have called me, right? I get that. But can I ask, before I jump, are you not interested because you've already looked into a certain solution, or are you not interested because you've got a million and one things on right now? Your plate is stacked at the top. This just isn't a priority for you. Neil, it's not a priority for me. Absolutely fine. What is? Your aim is to progress the conversation, guys. Yeah. So progress the conversation forward. Actually, Neil, you know what? Our priority right now is to cut budget, cut spending. That is our main priority for the rest of this year. You know what? It's so interesting that you say that, John, that your priority is cutting spending, because I was speaking to X, Y, and Z competitor 2-3 months ago, and they had the exact same priority as you. When we took a deeper dive, however, we actually found they were spending so much more on 14 different learning management systems and learning providers. And actually, all they needed as a business was an all-in-one solution. We were able to help them out with that and make sure they cut their spending by over 50%. Do you want me to show you the blueprint of what we did with them? Or do you want me to send over the framework? What would be helpful for you? Progress the conversation. That is the whole point of objections, is to understand what the real objection is and actually be curious with it. See if you can help them. Guys, show me your best not interested responses. I want to see them in the comments. And guys, I have a ton of these built out. I have talk tracks for each and every objection you can think of under the sun in SaaS. I've been in SaaS for over 10 years now. And what I've done is sat down with SDRs and AEs over the years. And in recent time, what I'm hearing is objection handling is one of the biggest blockers in the game today. We're in a tough market, right? And if we're in a tough market, what does that mean? It means you're going to hit more objections. So I've gone away and built out a full objection handling masterclass for you, and you'll get talk tracks just like the one I've gone through here with the not interested piece. The link is in the description below. Check it out. You might find it useful. Right. Back to the SaaS landscape. What is the solution to what we've been talking about? More complex market now. How do we level up? How do we combat the fact that our buyers are basically targeted with not spending money? What do we need to do? Can we take the same approach from 3 years ago when over 2/3 of reps were hitting target? Of course not. Of course not, because that's exactly what reps have done. And now we're tracking for 1 in 5 hitting target at best. Guys, the new playbook is this. If you're an SDR or an AE today, your job is no longer to sell software. It's to sell a future. You must become a strategic partner with your prospects, a risk mitigator, basically a business consultant. And what's the first thing you need to do? You need to start qualifying out. SDRs, AEs, be ruthless with your pipeline. A bloated pipeline is going to get you nowhere, except maybe closer to the exit door. And that is a fact. That is a guarantee. What you need is a smaller, concise, more qualified pipeline. And here's how to do it. SDRs, start prospecting, start problem hunting, and be ruthless with it. If you can't find the problem and you've pressed everywhere, move on. The old SDR is basically a human voicemail machine. A cold caller, hit numbers, dial 1,000 dials, send 1,000 emails. See what sticks. The new breed of SDR that SaaS companies are looking for is a highly trained researcher and problem solver. That is what you are right now, SDRs, a highly trained researcher and problem solver. Get rid of BANT. Get rid of BANT. That is for weak salespeople. It's not going to work in this market. You're not asking a prospect if they have budget. You're proving to them that they have a problem so big by digging that they need to find budget, and they will find budget. Adopt a better framework than BANT. Look at MEDDIC and MEDDPICC. SDRs, you need to be doing this. You need to basically be the AEs in waiting. You need to do thorough discovery, thorough problem solving, thorough pain finding. No pain, no problem. Why would the customer move? Don't just tick a box and push that through as a meeting, because it's only going to hurt yourself. The AE is not going to be able to do anything with it. They're going to have to redo your work and try and start from scratch already on the back foot. And the deal's not going to close. So there's going to be no revenue added to your pipeline. So it's a lose-lose. Uncover the pain and the personal motivation for the champion and champions. Get the wider stakeholders involved. You're going to have to multi-thread. If it's a departmental problem, you may or may not close a smallish size deal. But if you can tie that pain to the wider organization, that makes it more sticky, and the AE has a better chance of closing a more sizable deal, which is only going to reflect better for you. Close one of those large whales and you're already getting promoted to AE. If you can't identify a measurable problem that is causing pain for your prospect and for the business, you don't have a lead. It's not pipeline. So SDRs, you need to stand out amongst all the noise, all the emails, all the cold calls that SDRs are making. And how are you going to do that? You're not going to lead with features. What if I could? Or what if you could? Don't sell them that dream. It's not going to work. Instead, start leading with an insight, a real provocative insight into their industry, specific to their business. Use tools to research their company's recent news. Build that credibility up. Go to LinkedIn. Look at their recent activity. Look at their recent posts. What are they posting about right now? Are they hiring? What is the finance department talking about? What is their CFO talking about? Are they talking about cost cutting? If so, why? Dig. And then use that insight either on your calls or your subject lines in your email. RE, your cost cutting strategy for Q3, or your Q3 cost optimization strategy. Something that will grab their attention and shows this person's different. They've been listening and doing research on my company that I work at. Your first message should offer a unique perspective, not a demo. Now, SDRs, once you've done your job, i.e. booked the meeting, where do a lot of these deals die? They die in the handover from you guys to the AE. The AE often repeats the same sort of questions, which is traditionally a checklist, for want of a better phrase, that the SDR asked when they booked the meeting. So now the prospect's having to repeat themselves. There's no real depth to the discovery, no real thought-provoking questions. When you get your prospect on a call and you get them to metaphorically really think, and that look, when they look up and think, that's got me thinking, or they turn around and go, you know what, that's a great question. That's doing discovery. SDRs, your job is basically to make this a slam dunk for your AE. And how do you do that? You do it by doing super detailed discovery and then summarizing it all and giving your AE all of that ammo so the AE can then go into the call and go, look, from my understanding, having spoken to John, who booked the meeting for us today. Here are the problems. Here's what you've done. Here's the outside. Here's my insight on this whole thing. I've actually built or prepared a brief overview and framework for us to go through today. I've left some gaps in there. I'm hoping you can fill them in for me, but this is my understanding currently. So much more credibility than going in and asking the same questions the SDR asked and then go through your process and then run a demo and try and sell features. Make it super relevant. If the AE goes in with an overview of how we've helped similar companies tackle this exact problem, the AE is now looking like a strategic partner, not just another sales rep trying to sell features and sell their product to them. They've done their homework, and it starts with the SDR. Now, AEs, the old AE is a showman. The new AE is a risk manager. Your job is to guide the buying community through all the weeds and the bureaucracy and make no as unappealing as possible for them to say. Now, how do you do this? You need to multi-thread. As I said at the start, gone are the days of having a single champion. If they leave or lose influence, or even worse, they weren't even a real champion and had no influence, where's your deal? It's dead in the water. You need to get access to those other stakeholders. Use your SDR. Work together as a team and leverage your SDR to multi-thread and make sure, actually, I've identified, John, you need to target X, Y, and Z. Bring them to the table. Map out the entire buying committee, because all it's going to take is one person from that buying committee that you're not speaking to or aware of. All it takes is for that one person to go, not too sure about this, and your deal is dead. It's done. All of that work for nothing. And we're wondering why these deals are stalling. Guys, we need to be savvier in this market. Level up, because that's what the top 5% do, that the rest of the 95% don't do. Your job is to get a different person added to all the next meetings. Every meeting, add someone new to that meeting. This is the way you turn a single champion into a team of advocates, team of buyers, potential yes sayers. Sometimes we've got to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. Again, don't try and rush a deal through for a quick deal. Oh, it's end of month, we're doing this and that offer. Oh, we've got our end of quarter special offer. Because I know you've got targets to hit, but you try and push those deals through. The more you push, the more resistance you'll be met with. You need to take a step back. And that could sometimes be running a POC, right? Running a small pilot with them, or running a short proof of concept, a paid trial or a trial, whatever it might be, to build that value. Get them into your web. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You're not trying to con anyone here. Yeah. But you need to, rather than slinging deals through and pushing them through because you want to hit target for that month, take a step back. This deal is going to require more nurturing. If that's the case, nurture it, because you've put in work in already. Isn't it better that the deal comes in 2 months than doesn't come in at all this month or ever? And remember, when you're running a small pilot or a POC, why are we doing it? The goal is not to just get them using the product. It's to show them a snippet of what ROI will look like, what their future state will look like. And make sure when you run that trial that you've got strong metrics in place, a strong framework of what success looks like from a trial perspective. For example, if we can reduce the time spent on X by 20% in the next 30 days, would you be confident in moving forward? This takes the pressure off a high stakes rollout, which is what you want and what you're pushing through. But from your prospect's point of view, it takes the pressure right off, because that's high pressure. This is now a low stakes environment, almost an experiment. And they're more likely to go for that. And when they see the ROI on that, they can then push it through, all whilst you're working with all your stakeholders, the buying committee that you've been working with over demo 1, demo 2, demo 3, meeting 4, meeting 5, etc. And let's face it, enterprise AEs and the ones that are doing deals, they're actually spending less time selling and more project managing a sales cycle. The sooner you embrace that fact, the better off you'll be. Right? Qualify out. And when you've got an op, identify the ops in your pipeline and say, these guys have got a great chance of closing. I'm going to have to manage a complex sales cycle. Stop selling to them and just make sure you've got all your buying committee on board. Bring them through the journey and just navigate it and guide them. You're almost a matchmaker. You want to connect the right teams with the right teams on your side. The right people internally, connect them at the right time. Security need to be talking to our tech team. This is what it can look like from an integration standpoint. Let's set up a meeting with the integration team. This meeting is going to be just about talking about the integrations. Loop in the right teams and connect them at the right time. It's not easy, but that is actually your task. So look, SDRs, AEs, the job has changed. Okay? The brief has changed. Businesses are making cuts. There's less SDRs, there's less AEs. They're going to try and maximize more from less SDRs and less AEs. They're going to run more streamlined. But guess what? The quality and output of that SDR and AE is going to be higher. That's what businesses are looking for. We are going to talk about that more in the upcoming podcast, why businesses are cutting those jobs, and if they're still hiring for SDRs, what are they exactly looking for? Well, we've just touched upon it right there. You need to become a strategic partner. That is how you're going to survive in this bear market, because the market isn't going to change overnight. Now, guys, let's jump back into LinkedIn, another post from this week. And again, one I think that you guys will find super interesting. I want to get your thoughts on this. There was a post out here covering off the best one-liners to use in your sales career, right? Now, there's 5 objections, if you like. You can see that I'm not interested is here as well. I'm running into a meeting right now. I'm not the decision maker. I don't think this is for us. Now is a bad time. We're going to focus on number 1. I'm running to a meeting right now. Okay? Now, if you're looking for a one-liner, okay, when do you get off? Yeah, you can use it. You might be able to set up time further down the line or later that day for them to connect with, or you to connect with them and call them back. Here's the thing though, as SDRs and AEs, you don't always get those chances come back around twice. So if you see an opportunity, take the shot, because you may not get another chance. So, and I want to hear from you guys. I'm running into a meeting right now. Okay, when do you get off? What would your response be? Now, I'll show you my response. I commented on this post and you can see what I've written here, right? My personal go-to is when someone says, hey, listen, I'm in a meeting, or actually I'm just about to step into a meeting. I hate to call you out on that, John, but you did just pick up. So you must have at least 30 seconds, right? And use that type of tonality, the right type of tonality. I hate to call you out on it, John, but you did pick up. So I know you've got 30 seconds, right? Inflect down. Inflecting down projects confidence. Okay. Super, super important. And it does require confidence. We've seen the response here. Neil, this requires confidence like no one else. Yes, Neil, that's a bold move. Absolutely. Of course it's a bold move. Fortune favors the brave, everyone. Yeah. You've got that. You've been ringing through. No one's picking up. You've got voicemails. Finally, someone picks up. You've got to make the most of that opportunity, because it may not come around again. In fact, most likely it won't come around again. It's a fob off, right? I'm rushing into a meeting. Call me back later. Okay, great. What time? 3 o'clock. Yeah, works well. Guess what? They're not picking that call up at 3, are they? So you need to remember, when someone picks up and they say you're rushing into a meeting, you're calling them from a position of equal footing. You're the expert. You're there. You've identified a potential problem that you think you can help them out with. You're the expert in your field. Go in with that approach. If someone says, listen, I'm rushing to a meeting, yeah, I get that, but you have picked up. So I know you've got 30 seconds. Let me give you an outline and see if it's worth a call later on today. You're calling them because you know you can help them, and you're calling them from an equal footing. And that confidence is going to be reflected in your tone when you speak to them. Hey, I'm calling you for a reason. I'm not calling you, oh, I'm really sorry. You're not there to pussyfoot around. Oh, I'm really sorry. I've caught you at a bad time. Have I? Is it a good time to talk? None of that. Hey, you picked up, which means you do have time for the right person. Let me show you why I'm the right person that you need to be speaking to. Equal footing. Always remember that. Guys, I want to get some insight in terms of how you deal with these type of objections. Maybe you want to speak to me about these other objections. I've got all of these covered off in my masterclass. I've got all of these plus tons more, and they're in the link below. So if objection handling is your blocker, you need to click on that link and do it now. Right, guys, That is it for episode 1 of the SaaS Sales Misfit podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, remember to tune in next week where we're going to discuss the trickle down effect into the mid-market space. All you mid-market AEs, all you mid-market SDRs, you will not want to miss this one because this is going to be specifically for you guys. We're also going to cover off the impact of AI in the SaaS space in more detail, plus all the other big news in that week. And of course, we'll be discussing more blockers of the week, what your blockers are, what my advice would be, how I would deal with it. Feel free to use it. Now, in the meantime, we've talked about discovery today. If you're struggling with how to conduct a proper discovery session, as opposed to just ticking off a checklist, I have built and added a link in the description below for my personal killer 50 discovery questions that will get your foot in the door and buy you more time to try and find your prospect's pain point. Links in the description below. Everyone, that's it for this week. I will see you all next week. Have a good one.